Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. We're a man down. Michael DC isn't with us, and I don't know why, but I'm sure he's okay. But we have a great pair, a more famous pair than the Newcastle Nobblers, Sam Turner and Steve Jones. Welcome along. Because I tell you what, it's a serious news day in the world of horse racing.
It sure is.
Sam Turner, how are you, sir? You all right?
Yeah, in good form, Tom. Bit of a cold. It is just a cold. You're allowed to have a cold nowadays, even though most people wouldn't like to have one. One sneeze and everybody moves about 50 feet from you. So yeah, bit flued up. Bit of man flu.
But you will soldier on. Yeah. I know you will.
Not like these. Throw the cards in.
Pathetic. Steve Jones, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good. Keep it brief. You don't normally. We've also got Brian along watching, and he's essentially saying what everyone's thinking. He said, whilst I love you all, need Adele. Her forceful opinion on Shishkin last week convinced me. No fence sitting there. It was fair enough. I mean, I know she was absolutely adamant that on times Shishkin could only win, and I thought she was completely wrong until the last. So there you go. She was right. Hello, Brian. Welcome along. Hello, one and all. Before we get stuck into the previews, let me remind you of Insights. Go to insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all our bets. I think a lot of people find it very useful, and it is all the bets that we're going to put up. We've also introduced a lay section here because, of course, on the Matchbook Betting Exchange, you can lay horses just as you can back them. And there is a lay section later on where the guys will be putting up their lays. Might not be one, but I know the guys have got a couple of horses they wanted to mention. Please also, if you're watching on YouTube, give this video a like, and you can subscribe for free. You can also give us a review and a follow on your preferred podcast app. It makes it all the easier to watch each and every podcast or listen to each and every podcast, and that is across all the sports. Right, and a serious weekend of NFL last week as well. I didn't know there were so many NFL fans in the world of horse racing. My horse racing Twitter was suddenly an NFL Twitter. What does NFL stand for, Steve Jones?
No effing...
Good. Right.
No.
Right, on we go with the race previews. The 155 we're going to start with at Cheltenham. It is a handicap chase over 2 miles, 4.5 furlongs. It's open. Magic Saint is in there at 5.0. Faraday is in there at 5.5. Galahad Quest, I fancied him last time. I've gone off him, 6.0. Whatmore, 9.0. And then we're into the double figures. I'm going to start, if I can, with you, Sam. Who do you like and why?
Right, well, I suppose the ground's the first place to go, isn't it, at both venues? Been a pretty dry week. They are expecting perhaps a shower at Cheltenham, but it's not going to be much, and it's going to be genuine good ground, you would think. Certainly at Doncaster, they were talking about watering early on in the week, so maybe the accent more on speed than stamina, which is a bit unusual for this meeting, because having been a couple of times, it's quite often bottomless and suits the plodders, but it might be a little bit more speed biased this weekend. Looks plenty of pace on here. Cool Cody, Torn and Frayed, Ed and Dahoot. So they should go a good gallop. I'm trying to make a case for Whatmore, really. Henry Day's pretty good at bringing these horses back from long absences. A la young Spartacus all those years ago, and one or two other chasers that he's brought back fresh. And he's enjoying a bit of a renaissance at the moment. He's also got a really good record when he's been rested as well. When he's had a couple of months off, I think he's 3 from 7. So obviously he's had a sustained break. I heard Henry talking earlier on in the week saying they were frightened to run him over 3 because he was that fresh and well at home that he'd never see out the 3. So he's going to be a bit keen and ebullient, you would suggest, and perhaps quite exuberant, Whatmore, having not raced for 400 odd days. But there does look plenty of pace on here. He's a horse that historically has travelled very well off a strong gallop. And I think he's an interesting contender here. I try to make a case for him and Jacamar, who won that handicap chase on Boxing Day and clocked a phenomenal time in comparison with the other chases on that card, the King George and the Porto Star. He was really, quite exhilarating, really, his numbers that day. So I'll probably have a little bit on him, but Whatmore would be the main selection.
And we, between us, Steve Jones and I, like a couple of those potential pace angles who you mentioned. I was tempted by Cool Cody, Steve. I know you are as well. I'm not sure last time was quite encouraging enough, and I don't think he'll get his own way. But you're with Cool Cody.
Yeah, I don't think there's a huge amount of pace in this. And if you look at the last 4 winners of this race, Cepage, Serra de Luck, Froden won this 4 years ago, and Foxtail Hill, they were all either up there or made the run-in. That's kind of a trend in these 2.5 mile handicaps around Cheltenham. You don't want to be too far off the pace. And there's a few of these that have got the old excitable puppy syndrome where they have to, they want to get on with it. But it's hard to come from off the pace in these sort of races. And I think Cool Cody, I'm willing to forgive Cool Cody that run last time on New Year's Day at Cheltenham. I mean, he's such a regular here. 9 of his last 10 runs have been over this sort of course and distance, whether it's on the new course or the old course. Now, his record on the old course is very good. And the new course, it wasn't so good until he won here in December when he beat Zanza, when he did exactly what he does every time. He gets on the front end, generally jumps well. I know he has fallen a couple of times, mainly when in contention. He was looking like he was going to give it a real good go in the old Paddy Power Gold Cup when he was a faller 2 out back in November. He just loves this place, and I think he's very straightforward, gets on the front end and just keeps going. I know he's 11, I know he's up in the weights, but I just think he is the solid angle here, whereas some of them will be trying to make ground up when it's not easy to do. So Cool Cody for me.
A similar sort of angle with Torn and Frayed for me, who I think will be up there. I think Cool Cody will go forward. What I love about Cool Cody is he goes on the front end, going left-handed, but he jumps a bit to his right. So he almost by design, maybe it's by accident, nothing wants to be right alongside him because they know he might jump into him. So there you are. But I thought the bigger price about Torn and Frayed, although it was earlier on anyway, was most interesting. Basically, I thought Magic Saint, I really liked his run last time. I thought he was short, bang at the top of the betting. Faraday, this isn't Sandown. This might be fine. Galahad Quest, I was all in on last time and just ultimately very disappointed. Can absolutely see the case for Whatmore, but I chose the absence as a negative. And then you're getting into the bigger prices, and I thought Torn and Frayed at 13.0. Obviously, last time was a shocker, but it was heavy ground, so I'll forgive him that. He ran pretty well at the course, has run pretty well at the course a couple of times. And I thought 131, it was a fair enough case to make that he was pretty well treated. He kept on here back in October on the old course, and I thought, that perhaps a better test or more of a test on the new course might just suit that little bit better. So he was my win and place angle anyway, certainly. Anybody want to add anything else before we kick on to Donny? Lovely. On we go. Right, 210. This is the Yorkshire Rose Mares Hurdle Grade 2 contest. And betting is as follows. Miranda is right at the top of the betting, 1.9. Anna Bonina is 5.0. Miss Heritage is 7.0. I tell you what, I want to back her in a handicap of 127, but it's not. Western Victory is 9.0. Dazzling Glory 26.0. I'm sitting this one out. Sam Turner, kick us off.
Well, Miranda won this last year. I think Paul Nicholls, by all accounts, was eyeing quite a valuable race at Lingfield last week, the winter meeting, and was persuaded perhaps that this might be the better call. That was a 100 grand race last week. This is only sort of 34 to the winner, but she's favourite. She goes on good ground. Her form stacks up really well. The only slight problem is the temperament that she showed at Ludlow last time, where she didn't want to jump off, gave away loads of lengths at the start, and then needed all of the 2 miles to pick up Voice of Calm in the closing stages. Great ride from Angus Chalida. Obviously, Voice of Calm has endorsed that form with a really smooth win at Newbury subsequently, and looks a horse going the right way. So I thought Miranda did well to win, providing she doesn't handicap herself by forfeiting lengths at the start. I think she's the obvious call here. They look as though they go a good gallop, with Western Victory turning out again quickly after her run at Ascot for New Connections last week. I think the market sort of told you the kind of race she was going to run last week. Anna Bonina, I can see the case for her as well. She goes on good ground, okay, but I think this is Miranda's to lose, to be honest. If she's in a going mood, I think even money is a fairly decent bet, and something in and around that. And of course, if you play in the exchanges, you could wait to see her jump off. And I'd probably take a little bit shorter if she did jump off.
Okay, you like Miranda. You are
Not the series though, Tom. I hate the series.
It's crap, isn't it?
Mm.
Like a lot of comedies these days, it doesn't quite hit the mark. And Steve Jones, you know, it's bring back the days of our Fiederzane pet. Hello. There you go. No. That's what I was struggling. I was trying to think of something.
Balls and horses, I think you go to
Yeah.
before hello, mate. To be fair,
Yeah, it's good, fair enough. I was just trying to think of something of Steve's era. Charlie Chaplin. Anyway,
are you being served?
yeah. Go on, Steve.
You'll never beat Only Fools and Horses. Never.
Class.
Never. You can certainly beat Miranda. Odds on for a horse who's a mare who showed that much temper, didn't want to jump off last time. And if she's still a bit hormonal, and these mares, when they start going a bit doggy, then I'm sorry. Then I just can't have mares who start showing temper. You remember Sariska? Oh, she wouldn't jump off, and they were all over her the next time. She wouldn't come out of the stalls again. Once they start going, I'm very suspicious of her. So odds on, I want to be against her. And it's the old same old story. Been priced up on official ratings, and we know full well that official ratings mean absolutely nothing when you come into these sort of races. And Anna Bonina, Irish horse trained by John McConnell, got an excellent record when they come over from Ireland to race in Britain. And this horse has got the form. And she'll like the good ground. That's what she wants. And Western Victory, as Sam said, will set a nice pace here. I went off 1,000,000 miles an hour over 3 last week. So you'd expect Western Victory to go off hard again. That'll suit Anna Bonina. If you go back to last spring in the Scottish Champion Hurdle, Anna Bonina was second to Milkwood, who went on to finish second to Soldier in the Galway Hurdle. And back in third was Tommy's Oscar, who's won everything ever since. And so that form is really rock solid. And Anna Bonina's only had one run this season. That was behind Tommy's Oscar up at Musselburgh. So that should have, on New Year's Day, that should have put Anna Bonina bang on for this. And if Miranda doesn't fancy it, then I think Anna Bonina is a great bet. I think she is anyway. I take the chance that.
That's where we're going to play in running, Jonesy.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 1 to 3 when she jumps off.
Is there an in-running angle with her at all, in all seriousness, or not necessarily?
Well, I think it's your insurance, isn't it? You'd rather take 1.8 if she jumps off than probably 1.97, pre-race, wouldn't you? I think if she jumps off and she's within a couple of lengths of him, I'd be quite happy to back her at that price.
It was too difficult for me. I'm sitting it out. Right, we move on. Steve might have given away his lay later on as well. The 2:30 is the Cotswold Chase. At even money, 2.0 is Chantry House and first-time cheap pieces. Simply the Bets is 4.33. I Write 5.0. Santini 11.0. Puerto Rico, any price you like, really. I know it's pathetic, but again, I'm a no bet here because, Steve, I wanted to take on Chantry House all ends up, as I did last time in the King George. Thank you very much. And then he was hammered in the betting, and he didn't really go a yard. And then I just thought even money was almost more tempting to back than to lay. So I've sat it out. I don't want to back a horse that pulled up last time, Steve, but equally, I don't particularly want to take him on. How do you rate him?
Yeah, I fancied him in the King George. I could see why he was being backed, and I was bitterly disappointed he couldn't go the pace. And there was a good pace on with Froden and the Pinella and
the Gold Cup winner.
The Gold Cup winner. And Chantry House just couldn't go the pace, didn't jump, and I was very disappointed with that. One of the Noel Chance Gold Cup winners, was it Mr. Mulligan or not? Looks like trouble. One of them pulled up in the King George, then won the Cotswold Chase, and then won the Gold Cup. I can't remember which one it was. I might have got them actually mixed up. One
Mulligan won the Reynoldstown, I think.
Yeah.
Great stats, Steve.
That's
Really
the previous year.
Really
anyway,
good.
so it wouldn't worry me that Sean Trehouse. Well, it would worry me that Sean Trehouse pulled out because he couldn't go the pace. But previous form and novice form, you've got to give Sean Trehouse a chance. But do you really want to be betting a shade of odds on at that with the cheap pieces on for the first time? So they obviously think that they're going to help Sean Trehouse travel. The Cheltenham form is in the book with Sean Trehouse. But I just thought, I only playing small here. I Wright, who's a horse I really like. This day last year should have won the big race up at Doncaster when, unfortunately, Callum Bewley dropped his stick 2 out and taking risks just managed to get back up, which was a bit galling. But I Wright is got real good form in big handicaps, carrying big weights in big handicaps, and deserves a chance at something like this. Ran very well in the Ladbrokes, not the Ladbrokes Trophy, the Ultima at Cheltenham last season when third to Vintage Clouds. And in the Ladbrokes Trophy the year before that behind Cloth Cap. I knew the Ladbrokes Trophy was in there somewhere. So I Wright is a very reliable horse who won last time beating a progressive inform horse called Good Boy Bobby. I just think if Sean Trehouse isn't on his game, then he might well take advantage because Santini's not quick enough on that ground. Simply the Bets has got to prove the stamina still. So it's sort of by default. I think I'd throw it a small stakes at I Wright.
Brian Galt agrees with you. You were also right, Steve. Looks like trouble. Pulled up in a King George, won a Cotswold chase, and then Richard Johnson got on board and won the Gold Cup. Mm-hmm. Sam Turner.
Well, it's almost like a copy and repeat, isn't it? Or copy and paste. These big Saturdays with the Henderson bandwagon seems to be rolling on now. Obviously Constitution Hill, your John Bonds, Shishkins, Epatants. There's been a collection of them really since just before Boxing Day, really, that have just gone in, and all the big players are starting to assemble for him. So this is obviously a huge day. He's got strong chances through the card. Chantry House, Champ, Balco Coastal, one or two others scattered away. Fusel Raffles, obviously, up at Donny. So another big day for Seven Barrows. And like Steve, I looked at this race, thought, I'll take Chantry House on. And I was, what with? I really respect I Wright. He's one of my favourite chasers in training, I think. He's a smashing horse, gives his best, tries hard. I think I put him up in the Ultima last year and got another good solid run out of him. He's that type of horse. But, simply the Bet's over 3 mile, 1.5. I know the ground will help him a little bit, but I couldn't really have him, to be honest. And you're getting sort of around even money Chantry House. 160 rated horse who has won round Cheltenham a number of times, has got a brilliant record in small fields as well. I think he's 6 from 7 in fields of up to 8 runners. So only been turned over once when he's faced a similar scenario that he's going to face on Saturday. And with the stable in good form, hopefully the cheap pieces will just sharpen him up and concentrate the mind a bit. He's not the best of the century for me, Evans. Whether I'll even back him or not, I don't know. But I think Evans, in what I see as a match with Simply the Bets, is a very fair bet, really.
Yeah, as I say, that it's a very, very fair price, I thought, for a horse who, if you're willing to put a line through last time, I wanted to take him on and I can't.
What price is if he doesn't run in the King George? Would he be the same price as Champ? Off the back of that Sandown
probably win? Off the back of that Sandown win, Simply the Bet's something to prove over this trip. Yeah, he's probably more like 1.7, isn't he? Something like that.
And Steve, he's £1 clear on official ratings. You'll put a good story in that.
Yeah, that's massive.
I've changed my mind now. It's a certainty. £1. It's £1 a length, isn't it? I mean, that's been scientifically proven that weight is £1 a length, no matter if it's 4.5 miles in heavy ground or 2 miles on fast ground. But we won't get into it.
Let's not get into it, Steve. But no, it's as I say, he's not the bet of the weekend for me. But I I find him difficult to oppose really in this grade with the setup of the race as it will be.
He's the sort of horse where I'm gonna get to before race time, and he's this sort of price. I'm just gonna go wins and probably do something silly. So there you are. Let's move on to Doncaster. Again, I know I'm not putting many horses up. I couldn't find a better than Riverdon. I apologise. It's pathetic. Hey ho. Unanswered Prayers is the horse that heads the betting, 4.0. 5.5 for My Bobby Dazzler. Marla Mission, 7.0. Not at present is 7.0. Now, I was going to go for him when I first looked at the race. He's just a lot shorter than I thought he'd be. I like the blinkers first time because he's a lazy so-and-so, but sure. Bridge North, 7.5. Coolbane Boy is 9.5 and 11.0 for the Real Whacker. Sam, have you got a selection here or no?
I have, because I don't like to sit on the fence, Tom, unlike others. So we're on a betting podcast, and it's very well playing straight back. You've got a dabble outside off stump occasionally, haven't you?
But you might get out.
Yeah, but if it's a swinging half volley, you've got to have a little bit of a click at it. So, me and Steve didn't get where we are today by with a strike rate of 27%. Yeah. So I've had a bit of a go at my Bobby Dazzler. I'm a big fan of the stable. It gets on very well with Alex Edwards. Landed a right punt at Aintree 2 starts ago. It was an enormous gamble, really, sort of 10 and 12 to 1 into 7 to 2 and won by half the track. I don't think he ran at all badly last time. I think getting back on a flat track, decent ground, I think that'll be positive for him. I just thought he was a bit overpriced. He's the highest rated on official ratings, and which obviously makes him a certainty, Steve, as you well know. And I liked him, and I liked Unanswered Prayers because I was quite taken with his performance last time. And I think Chris Gordon's horses, we saw another one, Orcan Risk, win at Wincanton the other day. They're in great form. They're very well punted. He's got a second to Stage Star on his CV as well. So I thought he was a huge danger, but I'll take a bit of value with my Bobby Dazzler.
Steve Jones, you've got one here, haven't you?
I have, yeah. The favourite Unanswered Prayers is interesting. Was disqualified after narrowly winning at Warwick earlier in the season, and I spoke to Chris Gordon because he wanted to know whether to appeal or not, and he didn't in the end. But I said to him, this Unanswered Prayers, he's this is Garth Brooks song, and he just went, moderate song that, big boy. I thought he was being clever, but he'd already heard it and he didn't like it. Anyway, the horse I like is another one of John McConnell's, who obviously I fancy his in the mare's race. And Marla Mission is another one I quite like. I think stepping up to this sort of distance is going to be good for Marla Mission. Marla's a sire who marginally the stats are better on good ground, so that offers me a bit of hope. And there is good ground on the mare's side as well. So hopefully that'll suit Marla Mission. And he's been progressing quite nicely. His first 2 runs were in Ireland when he was involved. He was 3rd in a race where there's a fair few winners come out. And then next time up, he was 2nd in what I'd imagine was an all right maiden hurdle. And he's come over to Britain and bolted up at Sedgefield. Kicking horses aside, that if you do want to go on the ratings, then it gives him every chance in here. And I think the fact that he's gone in and won at Sedgefield, where let's face it, not a huge amount of champions are born in Sedgefield, but he's absolutely routed them. And I think in what I don't think is the deepest race ever run, this doesn't tend to be a hugely strong race, the Riverdon some years, and that might be the case again. And I think Marla Mission's got every chance. So yeah, that's the one for me.
Steve, have you heard of Mark Gatiss, the actor and writer for Doctor Who?
Can't say I have.
Born in Sedgefield.
Does he go off official ratings?
I believe he's big on his official ratings. He'd probably be, yes, he's on all of the websites I can find. He is the most famous person from Sedgefield.
Isn't he in League of Gentlemen?
Yes, I think he is, yeah. Yeah.
My Doctor Who knowledge stopped at Tom Baker, unfortunately.
You nearly said Dr. Newland. I love that.
I did.
A true horse racing fan. Anyway, right. It's pathetic. I love it. Okay. We're going to do the sign-up offer. And this is a reminder of the ongoing Matchbook sign-up offer. And it is the £20 welcome offer. It's money back as cash if your first bet loses. It's new customers only. You've got to use the bonus code Insights RF. So Romeo Foxtrot, Insights RF. Place your first bet. If it loses, you get your stake back as cash. The full terms and conditions can be found on the Matchbook website. £20 welcome offer, which is money back as cash if your first bet loses. 18 plus. New customers only, big gamble aware. Right, on we go. And this is to the next at Cheltenham, which is the 305. It is the Cleeve, which when interviewing Paul Nicholls the other day, I called the rail keel. Thank you very much.
Did he put you right?
He sort of did it in a really nice way, to be fair.
Good.
Fair enough, yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah. He didn't say what he was thinking.
You're an idiot.
You're an idiot. So
to be fair, Cleeve's quite near Railkeel as well,
Yeah.
so it's easy to get them mixed up.
McFabulous ran in the Railkeel last time. Anyway, McFabulous is 6.0. Paisley Park is 5.5. At the top of the betting, Champ is 1.5. Listnagger Oscar 26.0. Dandy Mag is 51.0. I've got a bet here, gentlemen.
Hey.
I think Listnagger Oscar is worth a bet at 26.0. And I was going to be in the without the favourite market, and it will be. But I would just have a go at 26.0. No, I can't see Champ beaten. But the last time this horse ran here was in the big race last year at Cheltenham at the festival. And, you know, he was sent off at 12.0. He came down at the 7th. Hadn't really done anything wrong there. He was still travelling. The time before that, he won here. Yes, he was incredibly disappointing at a big price last time. So you've got to forgive him that. But it might just be Cheltenham brings out the best in him. You could want the yard throwing in a few more winners, I know. Aintree was not enough of a test for him. And I know Newbury was a bit disappointing. I'm just really pinning Cheltenham on bringing the best out in him. He's got a lot to find on official ratings. Now he's rated 147. Maybe he's lost it. But I don't know. I thought he was a much bigger price than I thought he'd be. Like, at least we know he'll stay. We don't know that about McFabulous at all. And Paisley Park, I know, at least got close to Champ last time, but he's not going to like the ground. I'm sure of it. So I thought there was a case for Listnagger Oscar massively outrunning his price. I'll be backing him. Sam Turner, first of all. Are you actually going to... Do you make Champ a bet or just not? You just can't see past him?
No, I can't bet him at 2-1, even though I think you probably outclass him. I mean, crikey, that performance in the long walk was tremendous, wasn't it? I mean, not only did he travel like an absolute dream through that race, powered to the front, then when he was challenged, everyone thought, he might just drop in a hole here, old Champ, on his first run back. He's lengthened away again and, beat good horses, much stronger field than he meets on Saturday. And, really, unless he bounces off the back of that, but he's had 7 weeks. Henderson's a master at bringing horses back quite quickly as well after their first run. He did it with Shishkin last week. So, I can't see a problem for him. He's going to a track that he loves as well. There just doesn't seem to be a hole in him. As opposed to McFabulous, I'm still not convinced he's a true 3-miler, especially on this track. Paisley Park, as you say, the ground, like, God bless him. He still tries, but there's going to be a day, really, where he's just going to go, do you know what? I've had enough of this. He just looks like he's getting close to that sort of situation, really, and just the way that he moves. Is he going to be a bit of a crab on the ground? Liz Nagar, I've tried to make a case for, but 3 of the last 5 horses from the yard have been pulled up. She's gone on record as saying that she sorted it out. It was a feed problem, etc., but there still seems to be an issue with it. So I'm just going to have a speculative poke at Dandy Mag. I think Paddy will probably hunt it round at the back and might just run through for second. I'm going to back that without the favourite. I think that would be my play in the race. I know it comes off a dreadful run at Wincanton last time, but that was the first run for the yard. Might not have been the track. I just think, going to Cheltenham, where Paddy's going to race. He's just going to be quietly tip away and then try and pick up some pieces late on.
Steve, I know you don't have an official bet in the race. You can't really see past Champ. Nick Palfrey is with us. I think he's watching on a delay. He said Seinfeld is better than Only Fools and Horses. I don't know what you make of that. Not having that, are you?
Come on, Nick. Come on.
Would you? You're not backing. You can't see past Champ, but you haven't got a bet in the race, Steve, right?
No, I just think Champ will win. I was impressed, like Sam was at Ascot last time. Thought Paisley Park ran well at Ascot, really well, and he's still all right. But on this ground, in this sort of field, I don't see it. And McFabulous has got to prove that he stays 3 miles truly. So against a horse who's got top class form throughout his career, I think Champ is the one. Yeah. So I shan't say any more. I had Champ. I've got to get this off my chest. I had Champ, Bob Ollinger, Statler, and Bernie Hollow anti-post to win me 100 grand at Cheltenham. So I'm cock a hoop to see Champ win and go odds on for the stayers, and Statler win on Sunday and go odds on for the National Hunt Chase. Bob Ollinger's already odds on, and Bernie Hollow isn't. So hey ho.
Oh well,
I'm not bitter.
No, that's good. He's really really given the atmosphere a good kick there.
Brought the mood down there.
Yeah,
absolute mood vacuum. You are, Jones.
The Jonesy the mood hoover. 320 is the feature. It is the at Doncaster. This is the Skybet Handicap Chase. It's a listed race, and it's a good-looking renewal of it. At the top of the betting, we've got Fusil Raffles 6.0, Captain Order 7.0, DBC is 9.0, Cap Course is the same price, and then we get into the bigger prices. So a few going up here. Steve, first of all, you got a couple you want on side.
Yeah, I'm glad you came to me first, because this is my sort of race, so my mood is back to the usual optimistic self. I don't really like the look of some of these at the top of the market. I can't really get my head around the market in this, to be honest. Fusil Raffles makes more mistakes than I do. And going up to 3 miles, I know Fusil Raffles won the Charlie Hall, but that was by default, wasn't it? Chamblou had a bigger lead than my Hoover that day. Or the lead was longer than Doctor Who's scarf, whichever one of those you want. So I think that Fusil Raffles a poor favourite. The two, I'll get round to the ones I do like. Hill 16 is one who was beaten the width of a fag paper by the Snow Leopardess in the Beecher Chase, and Snow Leopardess is obviously going to win the Grand National. So that was a brilliant run from Hill 16. And then I'm willing to give any horse a below par run in the Welsh National when Hill 16 was pulled up. Ground could have done with being a bit softer, but Hill 16 beat Little Rockefeller over hurdles on good ground at Newbury early last season, when with Nigel Twiston Davis. And Hill 16 is switched to Sandy Thompson, who's in good form, only had the 3 runs. And I just think that he's way overpriced at 21.0 or something. I think there's a lot of upside to Hill 16 at that sort of price. Win in place this is. And the other thing, we were talking earlier about horses that liked at Cheltenham over 2.5. They like to be up with the pace. This is the similar sort of race. You don't want to be too far back at Doncaster in this sort of race over 3 miles. It's not easy to come from off the pace. So I'm hoping that Hill 16 are just in the Beecher, sort of midfield, just behind the front group. And I hope that'll be the case. And the other one that I think is sure to be up there is Storm Control, who is a really good jumper, really fast and accurate jumper, and gets on the front end. That is a really big help. And last time Storm Control came back to form at Newbury, made most of the running, or was certainly way up there, and ground it out. There wouldn't have been the most competitive race, and he only won half a length, but he was doing absolutely nothing in front over the last 3 fences, and had far more up his sleeve than that says. He's still nicely handicapped on his form from last season, and he's got a £10 claimer on called Dare McConville. I probably haven't pronounced his Christian name there properly, but he's very, very. I was impressed with him at Newbury because Storm Control was stopping, and he was able to galvanise Storm Control and get him back home in front. And there's no way that whatever he's gone up in a handicap, £5 is enough to stop Storm Control. So I would take those two at around 21.0, win in place, and be quite happy to split stakes.
23.0 and 21.0 are the two that you have mentioned. I think it's Dara, just so you know,
Dara.
Steve. Pretty sure it's Dara.
You'll be hearing a lot more of Dara, I'm sure, because has been impressed with him.
Sam Turner, couple for you?
Yeah, number one pick would be Cap Course, who I think is in good health, fresh, well. Will love the decent ground, stretching out in trip as well. I think there'll be a bit of pace on here. Steve Storm Control, DBC. He was pulled out of a race recently. Looks a likely type as well. I've got him on my shortlist, but I think he'll try and force it. I think Midnight Shadow, Rocco, they could go good gallop here. And as we touched on at the start of the pod, the accent could be more on speed than stamina. I mean, this was won by taking risks, wasn't it? A 4 miler last time, and it was a real war of attrition, I think 12 months ago. So it might be a bit more of a speed test. And I take on board Steve's point that you want to be travelling well in the main pack, just in behind the speed, and then be in close contention turning in, because it's very difficult to make ground in this race because they seem to go an unrelenting gallop up the front. Hopefully Cap Course fits that equation. He's a horse that invariably travels pretty strongly when he's right. He's got a rather patchy record, but I think that's because he's been a little bit difficult to train. Hopefully they've got a clean run with him coming into this race, and I think he's a fair price at 9.0, 10.0, something like that. It's been a while since Paul Nicholls has won this race as well. He won it a couple of times in the early 2000s, but not for a while. So maybe you put that right. And unlike Steve, I think Fusa Raffles, I thought he ran really well last time, despite hating the ground at Cheltenham. He hasn't got a lot of scope, this horse. He doesn't look a natural chaser. And I think trying to jump out of soft ground is difficult for him, especially on an undulating track. I think back on a flat track on faster ground, that'll put less stress on his jumping. His technique might hold up a little bit better. And I'll have a small saver on him. I'm not at 5-1. I mean, he was 10s early on in the week, and that was quite an attractive price for a classy horse. But at 5s, I'm only going to have him as a small saver, I think.
Yeah, I thought he was too short personally. I don't know why. I feel like I've got it in my head, probably off the back of the Weatherby race, that, you know, he didn't deserve to win that, and therefore he's not going to go off value ever again. That's probably not the right way to look at it. But I'd be against him at the prices anyway. I thought that Canelo was a fair bet, who has won here. Wasn't beaten too far in the race last year, and is £11 lower now. £11 lower for a reason. But I don't know. He's the sort of horse it wouldn't surprise me if he came good. He's 15.0. The other one I want to bet, and the main bet on the day, is Hurricane Harvey. I'm not giving up on him just yet. He has been very disappointing since really that reappearance run. So I thought the Badger Beer was disappointing. And they put cheap pieces on last time. And I mean, that was essentially rubbish. He ran really, really poorly. Now, maybe it was Cheltenham. I don't know. But on the plus side, he has won here. I definitely think he's well treated off 132. Definitely. So particularly based on the run in the Badger Beer of 136, where he just looked like he probably wanted more of a test. I don't think Wincanton suited him. A sound surface seems to be what he wants. I thought 21.0. I thought he was genuinely a massive price. And they're sort of going back to square one. No cheap pieces, no tongue tie. So maybe they're as confused as many. But he's a well-treated horse. He's much bigger than I thought he'd be. So I am going with him and those two. For me, Hurricane Harvey and Canelo. All big prices in that, pretty much. Right, last up, we're going to Cheltenham. And we're looking at the Ballymore Novices Hurdle, where Balco Coastal is 3.0, 4.0 for Hillcrest, North Lodge is 8.0, 10.0, different kind. Bigger prices, the final couple. There's a couple of shouts here for Hillcrest. Sam, you can make the case first of all.
Just been really impressed with him this year. I thought he was terrific last time at Cheltenham over course and distance, turning away Iron Maximus. Little stumble after the last. Another showcase really for the class really of Richard Patrick. He's not a jockey that gets mentioned very often when people are looking at young British talent. Seem to centre on, Brendan Powell Jr. or Tom Bellamy, and rightly so. They're both talented riders and Stan Shepherds of this world. But I think Richard Patrick, quietly and unassumingly, just goes under the radar. Really good horseman, gets a good tune out of Henry Daly's horses, rides well for Kerry Lee as well. And I think he's got a good synchronicity with this horse, and he's an absolute beast, isn't he? I will try and get around the paddock and see him again on Saturday, because he's a real monster. He'll make a lovely staying chaser. And I know the Henderson team are having a crack at him again with Balco Coastal, but he's up in trip. Wears the hood for a reason. He can be quite free and quite exuberant. I just wonder whether he'll have enough. He might outclass Hillcrest. He might just be a little bit quicker, a little bit classier at this stage of their career. But I think Hillcrest, Iron Maximus tried to eyeball him, and he just said, "See you later, son," and just powered on. And I think he was wandering around a little bit on the run-in as well. I think he's not concentrating. He's not the full ticket just yet. But I think he's an exceptionally talented horse, and hopefully he'll prove that in the last here.
At a bigger price than I thought he should be, to be fair. I'm singing for a similar hymn sheet, and I thought he should be close to the favourite anyway. I sort of feel like he's just not really got the credit he deserves, maybe. No. I don't know. It's 4.0 and double the price of Balco Coastal.
I don't think he'll be that, Tom. I think they'll be joint favourites.
Yeah, that would make much more sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it does worry you a little bit that the Henderson crew think that they can beat him this time round. And look, yes, I'm a big fan of Balco Coastal. I mean, their Ludlow form's backed up really well with the second going in since, but I'm never a big fan of horses stretching from 2 miles to 2.5 and taking on a course and distance horse in the like of Hillcrest. Who looks a bit of a monster at that trip.
Yeah, he. I interviewed Henry Daly afterwards about what trip he'd go to, and he sort of said at the moment it doesn't matter just because he's living on talent. Eventually he'll get further, definitely. This race is normally a race, because it's normally run on testing ground, that points to an Albert Bartlett. I think it could be different here because I don't know that he's definitely a festival horse. Anyway, I just thought I thought Hillcrest should be clear favourite, so that was my angle in. Steve Jones. Yeah,
he's got a penalty, isn't he? Not easy for Hillcrest, but he's a monstrously big horse, so maybe that won't.
He's got a penalty, right? So he's got a £5 penalty, but he's £9 clear on official ratings.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes a difference.
You missed that.
That makes a difference because exactly one length. It's just pure coincidence. Exactly one length equals exactly £1. I think that's one of the great coincidences of all time. Anyway. Really impressed with North Lodge last time. Now, I'm usually steering away from horses that have had one win and then straight into graded company. But North Lodge was able to win first time up against more experienced horses that had won their previous starts, that filled the places at Aintree. And North Lodge went through that race really well, jumped nicely, but you could see it was his first start over hurdle, so you'd expect improvement for that. Going up to 2.5, I think, is another positive. And it was soft ground at Aintree, which he handled fine, but he's by presenting, which in general terms, presentings tend to like decent ground, or certainly handle it as well as they do soft. So I think North Lodge has got a hell of a lot in his favour, and he's getting weight off Hillcrest. He does have to give away the experience. He's only had the one run, where the rest have had at least 3. But I think he's a nice horse, and just a small stakes, I'll take a chance on North Lodge.
Okay, North Lodge for you. On we go to, we've got our lay bets. Love it. So, again, we don't have to put one up. I haven't got a lay because I'm layless. Steve Jones, though, you are going with a horse that Sam fancied earlier on.
Well, Sam fancies it in running.
That's true.
I'm laying it beforehand, not in running. Miranda, after what she did last time, she didn't want to jump off. If she's got that in her head again, odds on is looking very iffy. And if you lay her and she doesn't want to jump off, and then she does, you can get out in running.
But and that
if you've got faster fingers than me, because my in running tends to press the wrong button, back the wrong horse. Oh, and all of a sudden I've wiped out I've backed about 8 in the race, and none of them are right. And
you're selling the idea of an exchange beautifully here, Jonesy. Well done.
Yes, exactly. In all seriousness, Brian
if
said,
I'm involved, you're making money on the exchanges. That's what I'm saying.
Good point.
Brian's been on to say Adele would have a lay, Tom. Yes, she would. And she put up all the winners. And yes.
I'm making no comment on that, Glass.
She'll be back soon, I promise. But in all seriousness, in future, we can be putting up horses who you might want to put in an in-running lay on, for example. I was tempted at that with McFabulous, who I think might trade a good bit shorter. Do you know, last week's race, the Clarence House would have been the perfect one for that, because as we sort of talked about on the podcast, Shishkin ended up trading a good bit bigger than he went off, and Energumene traded a good bit shorter than he went off. So, as appropriate, we'll discuss all those sorts of options. A lay for you, Sam Turner, is in the place market.
Yeah, just because, I don't want to be laying horses at big prices. I've been there, done that back in the day, and it never really works out particularly well. And people don't want that, if you're laying a 5-1 chance, you're basically backing all the others at 1-5. So I don't fancy that much. So it'd be simply the bets in the place market, probably around the 1.75, 1.8 market, I suppose. Just on a trip perspective. I mean, look, he could run well. He loves Cheltenham. He could get the trip, and Paul Nicholls could be stood there in the end, puffing his chest out, go, see, I told you, and I knew he'd get the trip. I knew he'd see it out well. And, I thought Chantry House was worth taking on. I wonder whether he's in that race because it's a 120 grand race. And, obviously there's eyes looking towards trainers championships and things like that. And you can understand it. Paul never shies away from a challenge. And why not have a go? We don't really know. I mean, he was pulled up at Aintree and ran abysmally that day, but Cheltenham's a different kettle of fish, and he might well, run a career best and finish a close-up second to Chantry House, or even beat him, or whatever. But I think I'm happy to lay him under even money for a place anyway in that race.
Simply the bets in the Cotswold Chase. Right, best bets then for the day. I'll kick off because I've got a couple. My best bet on the day.
Nice refreshing change.
Yeah, no, miraculous. I am going with Hurricane Harvey, first of all, in that last race we previewed at Doncaster. 21.0, I think, is a very, very fair price. And the other one I quite like the look of, who is a horse who I've backed a few times, is a horse called Bobby on the Beat, who runs in a shocking race at Lingfield. He was bought by a shrewd guy who, and I think he was a good buy. He came good at a fair price when I didn't expect him to. I think 6 furlongs might actually just be his trip. And he's opened up about 13.0, which is a lot bigger than I thought he'd be. I'd rather it was Kempton than Lingfield, but I think he's definitely worth just siding with or following going forward. I think, in the sort of latter all-weather winter months, I think he could win a couple. Bobby on the Beat, the other one. Sam Turner.
Hillcrest for me. Henry Daly's horse in the 340. Not exactly inspiring. I did toy with something like Cap Course or something like that, but he's a bit hit and miss. Hopefully Hillcrest has got Joneses to beat and can turn him away after the last with another brave staying performance. And
Steve Jones, you're looking early on at Cheltenham.
I am. The time form Novices Chase, When You're Ready, is favourite, but I thought that horse wanted a longer distance last time. So the horse that I'm keeping the faith with is Your Darling, who's proven on the better ground, and I thought got involved way too early at Kempton last time in that race won by Giacomo, who picked the pieces up. I thought Your Darling ran really well in that, and I think still got the potential for Ben Pauling and Keelan Woods, who's riding really well.
Steve, Sam, a pleasure as always. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for all your thoughts. Don't forget to head to insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all of our best bets, and that applies to all the sports we're covering as well this weekend. And I hope you have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.